My name is Nick. I have cystic fibrosis. I'm happy at the end to answer any questions about CF specifically, or about just inpatient, or like being a patient here when I was younger. Nice to see everybody. Thanks. So like I said, I have CF. I'm currently 28 years old. I was diagnosed when I was 2.5 years old. Nowadays they're diagnosing at birth, even before birth. So I did the sweat test. I don't remember that, but supposedly I did the sweat test, and I tested positive. I've been on all sorts of different drugs and medications my entire life. I had a sister. It does, obviously, like Dr. Kramer presented, it runs in families, right? So I had a sister who had CF, and she passed away. She was 2.5 years older than me. She was diagnosed at the same time that I was, so caught her a little bit later in life than they caught me. So I had a bit of an advantage there. It's also, it varies massively between patients, right? Like, so my dad my mom and dad are there, if you guys didn't know. So my dad kind of describes it as getting into a car accident. You can be in the fender bender, like kind of my situation, or you can get, run over by a semi, and that's kind of what my sister was dealing with. So she passed away when she was 20. She did the whole double lung transplant. She had everything, so. And at the time, Cleveland Clinic was the only place in Ohio that did it, that did transplants. So our family had to basically live up there for about a month or two. So yeah, that was an interesting part of my life. Sorry, I have a list of stuff that I want to talk about. Like I said, if you guys have any questions at any time, just let me know. Here's what I carry around all the time with me. So it's just a thing of medication. I don't like carrying them all separately. It's just kind of a big container. Throw that away. But anyway, so it's just all my medication I take throughout the day. Yes, this is a day's worth. I usually start in the morning with it filled all the way to the top. Anytime I eat, I take the enzyme portions of it. And I have to take between 4 and 7 every time I eat, and then I take all sorts of other medication like omeprazole for heartburn, just multivitamin kind of stuff. I'm on the modulator Trikafta now. I started with Orkambi in 2005, which was the second version. So I don't think my insurance paid for me to get the first one. So anyway, so I started with Orkambi in 2015. I'm now on Trikafta. I've been on Trikafta since late 2019, and it's working fine for me. It's funny that I forget who, but somebody brought up the insurance stuff, and yes, it is a problem. My lung function currently is around 115. It's been pretty stable. Like I said, I've been very lucky with my CF, and I've been lucky to also see the other side of it too, just because I know what people can go through. But my lung function has always been pretty high, around 115. I have more of the digestive issues and pancreas scarring and stuff like that. So the first year I was on Trikafta, it was approved for the whole year from insurance. Second year, they didn't approve it because they didn't see improvement in my lung function. And they basically, if you look at just the cost of the medication without insurance, and I pray for these people, but it's $26,000 a month. I'll get, an invoice at the every month that I get it refilled, and it comes to me and it's $26,000, and then it says minus insurance costs, and then in the end I pay, my copay or whatever. So it can cost quite a bit, and I was not prepared to pay $26,000 a month for it, as most people in the U.S. cannot. My doctor had to basically fight for me to stay on it, and thankfully it all worked out. I was off of it for 3 days while they figured everything out. They figured everything out on time, but then there was a snowstorm in that February sometime, and the shipment was delayed by 3 or 4 days, and I went off of the medication, I went back on it, and when I went back on it, I was on my normal dosage, and then I had other issues from that, so I had to be seen in the ER for a night. So I blame insurance, but but that's my story. But anyway, so like I said, most of my medication is for digestion issues and other things. I also, in 2019, was diagnosed with CF-related diabetes, so I take insulin for that anytime I eat, and it's kind of progressed a little bit over the last couple months. Nothing I can't handle, but I just have to take, now I take long-lasting insulin and regular insulin every time I eat, depending on the carbs and everything. So I consider myself lucky because that's all I have to do, but some people might be like, oh, that's like a whole lifestyle change if I had to do all that, right? But really that's it. Like, I take medication, I do insulin, I have treatments, I have the vest, I have the Monarch vest, which is the newer version of it. It's wireless or cordless or however you want to say it. So I can walk around and do whatever, but I honestly might pull that out once a year to do it at this point. Because I do play tennis still. I played tennis throughout college at NKU, and then I still play like probably about 10 hours a week or so. So I'm still pretty active with everything. It helps obviously for lung function and just staying active and basically a lot of running. And let me see. I don't know what else I want to talk about.
He did have the salt. After he played tennis, his hat would be totally covered in salt.
Oh, yeah.
And we had 2 tennis tournaments where we had to go to the ER. One he had to go from the court in an ambulance because he couldn't even move.
It was hot, and I was.
It was in the 80s. They played 3 matches that day.
And then of course you leave
the
ER and they're like, yeah, just make sure you drink more. And I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm drinking a lot. Yeah, like, so I was drinking double what all my friends were drinking, right? And I was still dehydrated. But yeah, that was interesting. And like, even nowadays, like, still I have salt. Like, if I mow the grass in the hat or whatever, I'll still have a salt ring around my hat. But did you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah. Did you appreciate much of a difference within your body when you started the modulators?
Honestly, for me, not so much. I do have like an early onset liver disease as well, and my functions for that have gotten better, but like physically I don't feel too much of a difference, but it's a good thing, right? Because I'm staying consistent, right? So obviously it's helping me not drop. For me, it's just kind of keeping me steady where baseline where I want to be. For others, it has shown 10-20% increases in their lung functions, which is awesome. Which is why insurance didn't want to pay for me, but that's good. Yeah, good question. Yeah.
Can you talk about the kind of administrative burden on you for dealing with insurance and back and forth between trying to get them to cover things and what that's like?
Pharmacies and deliveries.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of work, and I'm married now, and my wife does not want to deal with anything like that. So I basically handle it all myself, and it's kind of set my career path as well, because I wanted to make sure I was in a position in my work and my job where they provided insurance, right? So I got very lucky with that. I work at home full time, so that makes things easier too. But now I have it set up pretty good because the pharmacy that I go to, they have an app, and I just click whenever I need new medication. I hate the automatic refills. That's one thing I don't like. I don't know, I like to be a little bit more in control than just being like, hey, you have got 5 medications to pick up. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm picking up, but I'm just going to go pick it up, right? I like to be in a little bit more control of what I actually need and what I actually pick up, rather than just getting way too much medication at one time. The Trikafta is one that goes through a specialty pharmacy because it is so massive. So that's the one I always run into a little bit more insurance issues with. But like I said, it's once a year, so I can just set aside a little bit of time to talk to whoever I need to talk to at the insurance offices about it, and then it's always going to get approved. At least it has always been for me, so I've been lucky. And then since I live in Ohio, I am on BCMH for secondary insurance, or is it changed now?
We might have a different name, but we'll call it BCMH.
Yeah, it's always been known to me as BCMH.
They may not know what BCMH is.
Yeah, so it's a secondary insurance that you qualify. Traditionally, it's for children, Bureau of Children with Medical Handicaps, right? And so I am no longer a child, so you might be like, why does he still qualify? Well, they're a really good secondary insurance through the state of Ohio, and they pick up everything that I would have to pay had I after they run primary insurance, they pick up everything after that. And so that's what they do. And then thankfully, since CF is a childhood disease, is why I still qualify for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which now, as you saw on the slide, might not be the case, but I'll take advantage of that as long as I can. But
He and his wife bought a house, and I made them buy in Ohio just for the
Yeah.
coverage of it. Because that is not a
actually really
Kentucky
matters.
thing.
People
Yeah.
have had to move states.
yeah,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is crazy because But anyway, yeah, my wife is from Northern Kentucky, and I'm from Northern Cincinnati. And when we were buying a house, we had to specifically live here. Now we're in a little bit better place where we can. Kentucky has like grants and stuff, so we've been looking down to get back to Kentucky because we do like
The
that
CF
area.
Foundation also has,
Yes.
Yeah.
they have some
Yeah.
plans too.
So it's not as prevalent anymore for me, but BCMA is definitely a huge cost savers for like the everyday person who has CF. That's why if you ever see like numbers on a map, like the amount of people that live in certain areas with CF, Ohio has like one of the highest percentages like to the population, right? Like Florida, California, they obviously have a lot more than Ohio, but like percentage-wise to actually how many people live in the states, Ohio has like a very high percentage of that. So, did that answer your question? Okay.
Could you talk a little bit about how often you have to go to the ED or go receive medical care because you can't take care of on your own, and how that's kind of changed as you've grown up and as
Yeah.
it's gotten better?
Yeah. So I've been very lucky. The last time I was inpatient for like a stay, like a week or two or whatever, was November of 2001. So it's been 22 years almost. So I've been very lucky with that. My sister, on the other hand, she had to stay. She was basically 50-50, 2 weeks in, 2 weeks out, all that. So I realize how lucky I am with that. For the emergency room, a couple times I had to go because I overheated at tennis or was dehydrated. That was just like I stayed until I got more fluids in me, and then they sent me on my way. The one time I had to go to the ER because the Trikafta thing, where it wasn't like I was off of it for so many days. And then otherwise, I see my doctor at UC now, and I go every 3 months. And then I have my endo doctor, right? Diabetes, yeah. So I see him every 6 months. But now my diabetes has gotten a little bit uncontrollable, I guess you could say, the last 2 months. So that's been a little bit of a change because I never had diabetes issues. I was always like a pre-diabetic. Like my A1C was around 6.2, 6.5 range. Then the last like 2 months, it's gone up, and I've noticed like some uncontrollable blood sugars. So I'm seeing him next week. But that's like, usually I would see him every 6 months, and when we get it back to being controlled, it's going to be something similar like that. But every time I go, it's a pretty straightforward appointment, right? Like I try to get it in and out as quickly as I can because I know they've got other patients to deal with, and they don't need to be seeing me all the time. I see Dr. Indahar. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but she one of the days a few months ago was running late, and she was just like, she had another doctor fill in. She's like, oh, he's easy. So I was lucky with that. And I guess like growing up, I saw Dr. Amin. I don't know if you all know him, but he's an awesome guy. He's a good family friend. So he was at my wedding, funny enough. So he made an appearance.
Can you talk a little bit about the transition from like care at Children's to care at UC?
Yeah.
I know we had like a sickle cell presentation, and some of the patients there talked about their transition from Children's to UC.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, depending on like your level of severity, right? Like, you're gonna have a different experience. So like me, like, wasn't that big of a deal. Like I went from seeing my doctor here every 3 months to seeing, at the time, the same doctor at UC. So it was just a different building, right? There was really no change, except for the first day, or the first appointment I had. I was waiting for like 2 hours because they were dealing with other situations, and they just were very behind. And I was just sitting there waiting, and I didn't get any communication or anything like that. So that was kind of frustrating. I have since made sure to like take note to be the first appointment every day. So I like to get it in and out of the way, because for me it's like they don't really need to have me sitting there for 2 hours talking to me about whatever I need to do, right? It's usually like a pretty quick, like 20-minute appointment, right? So, so I like being the first appointment of the day. Transitioning to UC Health also was like me becoming an adult in a sense, right? Like I had to be on top of my own stuff. Like I didn't have my mom there at my appointments anymore. Like she can come.
CF parents are pretty controlling, so.
Yeah. So I had to basically pick up where she left off and figure everything out on my own.
He would call me, hey, how do I fill out the BCMA's paperwork? So.
Yeah, that was always it. But thankfully it doesn't change, so it's the same thing every year. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I mean, for my sister it was a little bit different, right? Because
She said she was never gonna go.
yeah, she was comfortable here, so she
She
never.
loved it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, she had got inpatient once in Florida because she'd gone on vacation with her boyfriend, and she was 18. We told her not to go because she was coughing so bad. She went, coughed up blood down there, had to go to an ER. When they went to the ER, they were like, "We're admitting you." She called me up, "You gotta call Dr. Amin, tell him to transfer me right to children's right now." So, yeah, she didn't want to go.
Did she make it up here?
The what?
Did she make it up here?
She did make it up here.
She didn't stay there.
Yeah, I don't know what the sickle cell experience is, but you were a pretty, it's a different atmosphere, pediatric hospital versus an adult hospital. That can be a little bit of, you know, we now do a transition to help the families with that, because it can be a little bit of a shock sometimes.
We do hold their hands a lot here, you
Yeah.
know. Even when we were at the Cleveland Clinic, one time Jim and I jumped out and we were like, "Hey, we're gonna be